Okay, so I just called and scheduled a diagnostic ultrasound with my infertility doctor, and that will be in a week from tomorrow. And then in a week after that, I'll have a follow up appointment to see how it goes. So I will keep you updated and let you know how everything went. All right, so I am on day 7 of my cycle. My period just ended yesterday, and I have used these in the past. These are ovulation sticks. But the thing is that my period is not on a very completely regular schedule. It varies between like a 27-day cycle to the longest it's been is 36-day cycle. So it's somewhere in between there, and I don't ever know for sure when I'm going to get my period. So the ovulation sticks are hard for me to use because I don't know exactly when I should start them. But so I've used them in the past for a few months, and the first the first month or two that I used it, I never saw the line get darker because I probably started it too early. So who knows? But then I was like, I'm sure I probably will just ovulate later in the month. I actually used these probably for maybe 3 or 4 months before my doctor, my OBGYN, told me to stop using them and just to have sex every other day, which is easier said than done. Not that I don't enjoy that, but sometimes, you have a busy schedule, it doesn't always happen. But I'm curious to see if I do ovulate really early or really late in the month. So my goal this month is to use one of these every single day between my cycles until I see the line get darker. So I've actually only seen it get darker once of the few months that I used them, and then I stopped using them. So today is day 7. I'm gonna start them today, and I'll let you know when I'm actually ovulating, or if I actually ovulate. We'll see. Okay, so I had my ultrasound earlier today, and I'm gonna do my best to explain this. I'm not a nurse or anything like that, so I will probably not get this all correct. But I really like that during the ultrasound, the nurse was very good about explaining exactly what we were looking at. When I had this ultrasound done back in February of this year, and I mentioned this in my first video, I had it done, but it was too late in my cycle. So they weren't able to determine anything from it. But this one was earlier in my cycle, so they were able to see more. So basically, they looked at my uterus. They said that my uterus is of good size. And then they looked at my left and right ovaries, and they determined, I forget the exact term, but each ovary has basically sacs of eggs, and each month one, I feel like sac is not the right term, but I'm going to use it. One sac will reach maturity and release an egg into your your fallopian tubes in your uterus. So they looked at the one side. I don't remember which side. They looked at the one side of one ovary, and all of the sacs were immature, so they were small. And then they looked at the other side, and there was one large sac, which meant that it was almost it was 15.9 millimeters in diameter, and when it reaches maturity, it's between 15 and 20 millimeters when it will release an egg. So she says that it's likely that I will be ovulating within the next couple days, and so that's a good sign. So that means that I am ovulating. But she told me to continue using the ovulation sticks, and on the day that it tests positive, to make sure that I have sex, and then have sex again 24 to 36 hours later to just make sure that, getting all your chances in there. And then she ordered me a pregnancy test blood work if I don't get my period 17 days after the ovulation stick tests positive. So we're going to try that this month. I have my follow-up appointment on the 13th. I'm going to go in and they're going to just kind of talk action plan with me. So that'll still be, right around the time that I'm ovulating probably. But so we won't be able to determine if I'm pregnant at that point, but we will just have an action plan set in place. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I have some updates for you. So on day 15 of my cycle, my ovulation test stick tested positive. And so we followed the doctor's orders to have intercourse on that day, and then 24 to 36 hours later again. So right now I'm in the waiting period of, don't know if I'm pregnant yet. Won't know for another 2 weeks. But I just had a consultation, basically like a follow-up to the diagnostic ultrasound that they did. And it was just to kind of give me an action plan. So I want to share what they shared with me and just tell you where my mindset is right now. So basically they say everything looks normal on paper, that my uterus is normal, my ovaries are normal, I'm ovulating regularly, my husband's sperm count is well over what it needed to be, and they're like good percentage of them are moving, so like everything looks good on both of our ends on paper. So what the nurse practitioner said that I met with basically is, if I'm not pregnant right now, which I won't know for another 2 weeks, but if it comes back that I'm not pregnant, they want to place me on a medication. I'm going to literally read it off the sheet that they gave me so that I do it correctly. I don't know if it's called letrozole. I think it's letrozole or letrozole. That sounds right to me. Femara. It's a medication that decreases estrogen levels in the body without unfavorable effects on the ovaries, cervical mucus, or lining of the uterus that is normally seen with low estrogen states. Using letrozole in the early days of the menstrual cycle causes the body to increase production of hormones, FSH and LH, that stimulate the development of ovarian follicles. Because the medication is eliminated rapidly, less than 10 days, we do not expect it to have harmful or unfavorable effects on the lining of the uterus, the cervical mucus, or the developing fetus. She also told me that 50% of the women who go on this medication have successful pregnancies in the first 4 cycles that they go on it. So chances are good that if I'm not pregnant right now, that this medication will help. But basically, she said after the first 4 months, the chances of getting pregnant decrease because your body starts to get used to the medication. So if that's the case and I'm still not pregnant after 4 cycles of using this medication, then we would talk about our next steps, which would be probably artificial insemination. But they don't want to go to that right away because in the case of using artificial insemination, the chances of having twins are higher. And so I think she also said the chances of having twins are higher using this medication too. And that I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place right now. I'm trying to just formulate everything she told me and process it at the same time that I'm sharing it with you guys. So just bear with me. She did tell me, oh yes. So yes, the chances of having twins using this medication is higher, but they will do like a count before I ovulate, I think, and they'll be able to tell if I have basically two eggs, and if that's the case, then I decide if I want to go through with having intercourse that month or not. I don't have anything against having twins. My husband actually wants twins, but they said that basically it's better to have one at a time for the sake of the health of the baby, because with twins you don't always go full term, and they don't always develop, and you have premature, and it's just better to have one baby at a time. But I would probably still try, even if I ended up even if it ended up being that I could have twins, I would still try, I think, because I want a baby. And I don't know. My husband also says that he feels like God is, like, other people have said to him something about like us having twins, and like he feels that that's what God is like telling him. So we'll see. At this point in the stage, I'm just trusting in God's plan, and I'm comfortable at this point. Like, I know that, like, whatever happens, it's in his will, and I'm not stressing about it. I just want to share what I'm going through, so that other people who are going through it can see, how I cope with it, I guess. And hopefully that helps in some way or another.